think the Democratic Party is on the verge of collapse. And I liken it to 1931, when Herbert Hoover and the Republican Party basically said to the very suffering American people in the Depression, we're not helping you. You got to do it on your own. It's all about self-reliance. We're not going to give you any safety nets. That led to 5 consecutive Democratic wins. 5. Not until Dwight Eisenhower, 20 years later, did the Republicans recover. I see the same scenario for the Democrats.
So are the Democrats on the verge of collapse? Well, a number of pundits and commentators think so. After the ridiculous antics reached new lows on Tuesday night, even the left-wing faithful are beginning to panic over the future of their party.
I don't know who thought up the bingo signs, but they should be fired.
Michael, this is an indictment, in my opinion, on the Democratic leadership. I talked to a lot of members during they was texting. The staff were on my phones and they were calling. And I think the best way to describe it is the Democratic leadership said they didn't want disruptions and they wanted people to attend and bring a guest, and they wanted a little business as usual, and we're fighting back in other ways. There is a palpable disgust, as Claire said, from not just the members, but their constituents. And it's like a pot, as someone described it to me, that's boiling, and it's about to bubble over. If you do not allow the members a space to release valve, it's going to bubble over. And this was the visuals are not taking back the House in 2026. Not these visuals.
There was a very interesting piece published on Spike by Brendan O'Neill entitled "The Death Rattle of the Resistance." And it was a very interesting piece because its basic thesis is that we are witnessing nothing less than the actual dying of the Democrat Party. And the cause of death will ironically be their own narcissism. What all of these cringeworthy stunts ultimately prove is just how full of themselves these Democrat politicians really are. They're not for anyone. They don't have an ultimate cause they're fighting for. This isn't the civil rights era of the 60s. This isn't women's suffrage. They're all ultimately about their own vain self-promotion and aggrandizement. And ironically, this narcissism is in fact the bizarre outworking of liberal ideology itself. And that liberal ideology reimagines the human person as a completely sovereign individual. Every single person is reimagined by liberals as having complete and total autonomy from family ties, from church alliances, from community fidelities. We're all supposedly free to reinvent ourselves any way we want. And so that's why the great 20th century historian John Lukács concluded, about 20 years ago, that we were already witnessing the death of liberalism. And for him, liberalism was dying precisely because it had committed itself to its more absurd premises. Again, this was 20 years ago he was saying this. He noticed that liberals were committed to carrying through with the single most irrational outworkings of their own premises. And again, Brendan O'Neill pointed out in this article precisely that. He noted the utterly rank hypocrisy on display with those Democrat congresswomen, wearing the pink suits to signal their fury with Trump's sexist policies that negatively impact women. But the absurdity to all of that is that those same Democrats had just the day before voted to torpedo a Republican bill that would have forbidden trans athletes from competing in women's sports. You literally cannot make this up. The day before the Democrats brought that wave of pink to Congress, they shot down a bill that would have preserved the liberty and the integrity and the dignity of women's sports. They are the anti-feminists, not Trump. But again, going back to John Lukács's observation, again, 2 decades ago, this is all part of the absurdities inherent in liberalism simply working themselves out for everyone to see. And if what I'm about to show you is true, it does look as if the Democrats really are collapsing in real time right before our very eyes. But first, gang, did you know scammers can literally steal your home right out from under you? Yeah, it's true. The FBI actually calls it house stealing, and it's a growing real estate scam targeting American homeowners. Basically, criminals forge your signature on one document, use a fake notary stamp, pay a small fee, and file it with your local recorder's office. And just like that, your home title has been transferred out of your name. Then they can take out loans using your equity as collateral or even sell the property behind your back, and you won't even know it's happening until you start getting collection or foreclosure notices. So let me ask you, when was the last time you checked your home title? Well, if you're like me, the answer is never. And that's exactly what scammers are counting on. That's why I trust Home Title Lock. Their $1 million triple lock protection helps keep your home and equity safe. Here's what you get. You get immediate 24/7 monitoring of your property. You get urgent alerts if there are any changes. And if fraud should happen, their U.S.-based restoration team will spend up to $1 million to fix the fraud and restore your title at no additional cost. And here's the best part. I've teamed up with Home Title Lock to give you a free title history report so you can find out if you've already been a victim and access to your personal title expert. That's a $250 value just for signing up. So go to HometitleLock.com and use my promo code Turley250. That's Turley250, or click on the link in the description below. That's HometitleLock.com, promo code Turley250 to get the protection and peace of mind you deserve. Sociologists have long studied the end of an era, as it were, for mass social movements, and there are some pretty consistent signs that a social movement is, in fact, dying. And I think we can find that the Democrats are going through virtually every single one of these stages. So first and foremost, we see the loss of participation, where there's a significant decrease in the number of active members and supporters involved in the movement. And this is something that's been plaguing the Democrats of late. The Democrats, like liberal parties all across Europe, ironically enough, have been increasingly losing voters. In fact, the voter registration tallies in literally all 50 states show that while Republicans are gaining in voter registration, the Democrats are hemorrhaging. Over the course of the last year, in virtually every single state in the union, the Democrats have been losing voter registration ground to the Republicans. But in addition to a loss of participation, a dying social movement evidences a significant reduction in public attention, meaning that the movement struggles to draw attention to its cause with diminished public interest. In other words, increasingly, nobody cares about the movement. And we're certainly seeing that with all of these cringe political stunts and public relations embarrassments and backfires that the Democrats have been engaged in. And to make things even worse, it's very amplification system the Democrats have relied on for decades, the legacy media. That is itself, the legacy media is itself part of this dying process. The legacy media is suffering from ratings that are an all-time low. So both the Democrats and their sycophant media outlets are crashing and burning in terms of publicity. It's actually Trump and the MAGA movement who are dominating social media, who are dominating the airways, who are dominating the ratings. Fox News, of course, is unparalleled in its dominance over cable news. X is the new minute-by-minute news outlet, not just here in the States, but increasingly around the world. So we're seeing a massive drop in participation. We're seeing a massive drop in public attention. But thirdly, we're also seeing a lack of active leadership. A movement simply cannot survive without viable leadership, a leadership that galvanizes the movement, that organizes the movement, that effectively represents and advances the movement. It's widely recognized, even by Democrats themselves, that the party is completely leaderless at the moment. They have no bench. I mean, there's literally no... Gang, they're already talking about bringing back Tim Walz, Tampon Tim, for 2028. which is just a massive admission that they literally have no viable leadership at all. But more than that, they're also devoid of any viable issues. Quite the contrary, as we've talked about a lot on this channel, they're actually finding themselves defending some of the single most unpopular positions imaginable. I appreciated this tweet. You'll like this. I thought it summarized things quite well. This dying Democrat Party supports illegal aliens over U.S. citizens, criminals over victims, government employees over taxpayers, men in women's sports, big pharma over health, educational elites over parents, war over peace. I mean, it's... I just said it so well. It's no wonder that the Democrats are currently polling at their lowest support ever. 22% approval. 8 in 10 voters want nothing to do with the Democrats. So are we seeing the collapse of the Democrat Party? Well, all the signs are there. The loss of participation, the reduction in public attention, the loss of viable leadership, the absence of popular issues, all suggests that the Democrats are indeed a party in demise. The days of the Democrats may indeed be coming to an end. By the way, click on the link in the description below to get all these articles and tweets I reference throughout my videos emailed to you each and every day. You're going to love it. We want you to have the best resources out there to convince your family and your friends of this new MAGA super age that's rising here.